Can somebody help me? I seem to have lost the front end to my Lynx. A special thank you to all my lovely patrons, especially Nerf Nothing for being an amazing pro patron. Greetings audience, I'm Boomstick, and today we're going to be talking about the red herring. The red herring is a 3D printed bullpup springer that uses a sling point in order to prime it. It takes straight talons and fires half darts, and it's not too shabby. The red herring was designed by Taffy, the same person who designed these skewers, which I also have a video on if you want to go check that out. The files are available on Taffy's GitHub, which I will have linked down below in the description so you can print your own. Now, I'm not sure if many of you remember it, but there was a thing called the Piranha made by Captain Slug. Well, that design didn't quite work out the way people had hoped, so Taffy ended up coming up with their own variation, essentially, on it. The red herring uses a turnaround system exactly like the Lynx, but main difference just being the fact that it's primed with this strap, so you don't need the entire front end for the pump grip. It's literally like somebody chopped off the front end of a Lynx. Now, I will say, the red herring is still in beta, so keep that in mind. And despite the fact that this one doesn't have any top rail, I do believe that there is currently a version that has top rail right here. But obviously, if you're going to have top rail right here, don't put anything that you don't want smacking you in the face, because that's coming right back at you. But obviously, you're not going to prime it like that. You're going to be pushing it away from you. So maybe not as big of an issue, but I don't necessarily think a sight moving back and forth. I don't know. I haven't tried it. I don't have rail, as much as I wish I did. The red herring also features an incredibly nice quick swap barrel option to where literally just boom. And then if you want to change out the spring, that comes right off as well. Split the spring off, just put in the one that you want, slide it back together. Don't load in more darts. Don't do this with a full mag. Usually I'm not doing this standing up, so you have to forgive my clumsy fingers. And then just slide the barrel back in. I do also believe that Taffy has a video of them doing this in like 10 seconds. It's an incredibly quick, fast change-out system to theoretically change it out for any spring that you want. Now, there is a version that uses a bolt prime. However, I do not recommend that. One, because when you're a bolt prime, well, for me, it's super cramped up here, so trying to prime it like that is incredibly annoying. And the other thing was, when you have a bolt on it, trying to prime it back, unlike with the sling prime, where you're pushing it away from you, because of this piece here that comes back, your pusher, it's not a comfortable prime between the short stroke and the amount of prime weight that you're putting all on one side. And to mention, you can't brace it on anything, because you can't hold it here and prime it back. You'd have to push it forward still with your arm. So I don't recommend the bolt prime. Taffy, from what I understand, also doesn't recommend the bolt prime, but people were asking for it, so they gave it to them. So if you're gonna go with the red herring, get the one with the sling prime. Much more comfortable. Now, as far as comfort goes, I find it to be fairly comfortable. It's got a pretty decent shouldering comfort ability. The one thing I'm not a huge fan of is this handle right here. For one, it's a little wobbly. I wish it wasn't this wobbly, which is a little irritating, but it's not the end of the world. But like when you're priming against something, you really would like that to be a little bit more sturdy as opposed to this wobbliness that it has. The handle, I find personally, is also a little wide, but also skinny. So it's this weird mix to where it's not the most comfortable. It's not uncomfortable, but it's not the most comfortable. I will say, unlike the Lynx, I love this trigger because it's directly pushing on the trigger catch, which I believe it's the same exact catch that the Lynx uses. Because again, it's a Lynx cut in half, essentially. Another thing as far as comfort goes is I've gotten used to it, but like the teeny tiny mag release that's right back here, I do believe that they have extended it since I built mine, but yeah, that it was sometimes hard getting used to like finding the mag release because it's so short against the stock here. Obviously, it's a very tiny blaster as far as Springer primaries go. Very useful for huddling next to cover and getting those very quick poke out shots, especially because you can just down, up, fire. As far as hardware goes, I got mine from Ennis Arms, but going forward, you'll be able to get the hardware from Silver Fox Industries, and I'll make sure to have that link down below in the description once they are available. I think that's enough of the general overview. Let's go on to the field. I was able to take the Red Herring to a Maryland Nerf Herders event, which has a 200 FPS cap, which is perfect for the Red Herring because it hits right around that 200 FPS range. It took a good bit to get used to the priming and the aiming, but once I got in the groove, I found it was a really good blaster for quickly taking shots before hiding behind cover. While my size isn't necessarily suited for that style of play, I can imagine some of the smaller players on the field being an absolute menace with a Red Herring, if they can prime it. The only complaint I really had on the field was you do have to be careful how worn your darts are when you're using with it, because that is more likely to cause jams. And much like the Lynx, I did find that the Red Herring does tend to jam more often than a standard blaster when using worn darts. This happens much more often when you're trying to rapid fire the blaster, so I really don't recommend running and gunning with the Red Herring, but more of a find a spot, take a couple shots, move closer, take a couple more shots, use cover. Now I will say that with this current setup, I had a really fun time running this in games. The very quick peeking around corners, I absolutely love that kind of play style. It's the same reason why I love the quick, for that very quick pa-pa, pa-pa. Obviously it does take a bit of getting used to for the whole prime method of... That does take a little bit of getting used to, but after a while it's pretty easy just... And you can just rapid fire out shots pretty easily. It's not the standard way, so obviously practice makes perfect, as they say. So not something that you're going to pick up and instantly kind of get the same feel for it as you would for a more pump action or rear prime style blaster. But overall, it's a fun and unique option, especially for those people who like to huddle close next to cover. Like, I do believe that there is a place for this on the field if you can get used to the strap prime, which I think it's worth at least trying if you're one of those people who likes to run up and bunker behind cover. So that's the Red Herring. Let's bring down our ratings board. Red Herring's gonna go right there. Unique, powerful, and pretty small for a primer Springer. So yeah, if this is something that you think you could get some good use out of, I do think it's worth trying to get in on this beta testing action. I don't know when Taffy plans on releasing it. I do know they're also working on a couple of other things at the same time, so I don't have any kind of timeline for when you might be able to see this more readily available, but for now there is technically a way for you to get your hands on it, so if you want to try and get one, I do actually recommend it. So this has been my review of the Red Herring. Definitely let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and hey, give the video a like and subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you all for watching. I've been Boomstick, and I'm out.
Oh, it's so... Oh, there we go. Got you, dude. Got you, buddy.